Well, as I said in the beginning, the whole overall purpose of the research was to guide the development of new products and solutions. Did I do that, or was it a... It's not a smart... no. There we are. Oh. Yeah. Why global online qual? So this was an approach. We wanted to understand the needs and the behaviors of people. We can do it in a quant way, but in a qual way, really to step into their shoes. That was our main objectives. We wanted to develop a global and country level insights. As I said earlier, 10 different countries were involved. Immediate access of target audiences, along with the participation of the clients to get the buy-in of both the local and the global client. And we'll tell you later how everything was done. Time was the constraint here. When you really want to find out about needs and behaviors of people, it'll take quite a long time to actually gather that. But these days, time and money is something that is really important for clients to look at. We were constrained to have about 2 weeks of field work, so global online qual actually enables us to do so. We chose for online bulletin boards in this respect. They're creative, interactive, comfortable, because people can actually complete all the exercises and provide their feedback and ideas and thoughts in their own environment, whether in this case it was at work or at home. It's very flexible in time, 10 countries, even within countries we had to deal with different time zones. People were completing stuff in the morning before they went to work, when they came home just before dinner or right after, or log in later on at night before they went to bed. And actually in between we were moderating and around the clock to keep up with them, because they were all very enthusiastic. Online bulletin boards also allowed our local and global clients to see what was happening, and that actually helped us during the analysis and reporting phase. We used customized questions. We had a global discussion guide translated into those languages, and then our moderators translated them into and customized them to the local country needs. It allows for multimedia touch points. I mean, basically all the platforms out there enable video uploads, picture uploads or downloads, etc. So it gives a rich detail to your report and analysis afterwards, but it also gives you a lot of data to work with, If you do it on a quant level, you have a lot of respondents, so it also enables you to weave in some quant exercises. So I'll get back to that one later as well. And I was talking about it earlier this morning. It also gives you a sort of a semi-ethnographic feel, gives you semi-ethnographic data to work with, because you follow people over a longer period of time as opposed to doing everything in focus groups in each of the countries, which is possible in a 2-week time span, but it's a lot of, it costs a lot of money. So for those of you that are not really familiar with online bulletin boards, it's a moderated online discussion group, basically, for a small period of time, which is not public, but people are recruited to participate in there. It's there can be recruited in a more custom qualitative way, so you invite them to the board and have that personal touch, and people can actually know what is expected from them. And they are still hierarchical in nature, so you funnel down to the things you actually want to know. Well, these are all very nice advantages that were mentioned, but yeah, we had some significant challenges to work with along the way. I mean, we're talking about 2-week time span with a lot of people. And Daisy is going to share with you the lessons that we learned.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Marcel. Okay. Indeed, Marcel, or also from this morning's presentations, and we already see that online research, it does give us a lot of advantages. But as a project manager, managing a project, just any project, is not always like a smooth road. It's always a bumpy ride. But it also makes research more interesting and exciting. So let me give you an idea of the project that we have conducted. So like Marcel already mentioned, the researcher fieldwork time actually lasts for 2 weeks. So we let people go on the board for 2 whole weeks. And then we talk to them, and not only for 2 weeks, but it's across 10 countries. So it's quite a lot of geographical covered. And in total, across 10 countries, we talked to 120 respondents. So since this project is related to a workspace, so for the respondents, it's actually consumer, but also they are office worker to work in a certain size company. So we talked to 120 respondents, and you can imagine how much information come out of it. This is just a rough estimation. So in total, we kind of have a rough count. You will have like 7,200 pages roughly of transcript to go through. I mean, if you compare to traditional qual. And of course, over 10 countries, we have 7 different languages. And 60% of these transcripts are in languages other than English. So it's also, as we have already heard, it is indeed a challenge. But it's good that we use native moderators, of course, and we already heard a lot about the advantages of having native speaker to moderate the board. And I also will go into a little bit more detail in that. And with that, the moderator, they don't only act as just have one role as a moderator. They are also our analysts. So through them, they moderate, they analyze, and every day we get a daily report or synopsis or summary report. So we actually were able to see or know what's happening every day in each of the country. So that already help us in already start analysis right from the beginning. So unlike what the Rolling Stone says, time is not always on our side. So, like I said, we have to cover all these different countries, actually across, I think, 5 different time zones. So you can imagine the organization of that. It's very difficult. And yeah, so time zones does not only affect like across country doesn't only affect like the response time. It also affects moderators because we have moderators around the world. And also, we also include our country clients as well as the global clients on the board. So they're following us every step of the way. So to include them into the whole process, we also have to keep them into consideration. But by doing that, we're able to get some strong buy-in and also a strong insight throughout the process on a daily basis also. So later on, I think Marcel will go a bit deeper into the communication part. So I think we've heard a lot of customizing the research using this specific methodology. So first, customizing the timing. It's not only about the fieldwork time, and also it's about spare time of recruiting people, because in some countries it's more difficult to recruit, and so it's easier to actually keep this in mind to reserve some time and for a certain country. From our experience from this particular project, in Colombia and Brazil, and fieldwork is always go a bit slower. So it will be a good idea to actually start recruitment, because the ideal way is to start a whole project in our country at the same time and end at the same time. But it doesn't always work that way. So at the same time, you also have to be flexible in terms of recruitment and the setup of the study. And not only for the setup, but also for the response time. Because of different daily routine in different country and different culture, and the response times might differ. So you will get your answer eventually, but you have to be patient with them in a certain countries. So it's something that's important to keep in mind when you start to plan this project. So I think customized recruitment to countries, this is, I'm just going to go for it again, but then we already know that you cannot use the same way of recruitment in different countries because there are so many factors that affect the recruitment. But from our experience for this project is, well, in China, it's actually very easy, and then the participants are very engaged, and we actually have no dropout at all. And they said 100% participation, actually we have like 110% because even the over. Well, I can't take that credit, but you know, it might have some effect. But on the contrary, in Brazil, actually, we also have this research done in Colombia. So in these two countries, recruitment was already slow, and also the dropout rate is also very high. But I think this is also some learning that we have to take into account for the next one. And actually, I have taken away a lot of the good ideas through this morning's presentation already, like really, really customizing the incentives and also different communication within different countries. So this is to avoid the dropout rate. And do you think really always try to use custom recruits? Because after all, it's a qual study, and it's very important to start to create have that personal touch from the very, very beginning. And instead of using panel is just, okay, sending email, you got a link and blah, blah, blah. That is missing a bit of the personal touch that also affect the trust between the respondents and also the researcher or moderator. So, and also affect the outcome of the research. So, customized content to countries, I think Tom has covered it very well in the previous presentation already. But indeed, we did do that too. We have a global exercises and a discussion guide to follow. So basically set roughly where we want to go. But not all the exercises are applicable in different countries because of the cultural differences and also people's way of responding to different kind of questions. But it's good that we use native moderators. They can help us to fine-tune the questioning as well as the language we use in the questioning. So I'm not going to go into detail of this. So it's very important to get the idiom right. So if you want to really talk to them and speak to their hearts, you really have to get to their language. So we use native language moderator in our boards. And luckily, we can cover most of it within the company. So everything is translated, and also the way of speaking, the manner is also very important. Our audience in this research is customers, so we all have a very casual and welcoming and warm kind of feeling. So that's how we start to communicate with them. And I can imagine if we're talking to physician, we're gonna change our way of communication. But nonetheless, the most important thing is we're using their own language. So how to engage the participant where they are? I think we already see a lot of good tips, but this is what we've learned from our study. So first, it's very important to build and maintain a personal relationship with them, because you're going to talk to this group of people for 2 whole weeks. So you really get to know every single one of them. But before you get to do that, you have to open up yourself to get them to know you first, to kind of set the atmosphere of the whole sort of chat room. So all the moderators, we will welcome them to the board and just be very friendly. And we start with a very easy and exciting task. And sometimes it's quite intimidating and quite overwhelming for respondents to go on the board and it's like, okay, you have to do this and do this, a collage, and so it might scare them off. So we start with, actually for this exercise, we start with an exercise to ask them to tell us about their day. So to walk us through, to help us to walk in the shoe for a day. So this is actually nothing different from kind of updating your Facebook status and tweet about things. They've been doing this every single day already. So then it gives them a feeling that, okay, yeah, I can do this. So then step by step, you kind of lure them into more challenging tasks and hopefully get more and more deeper into what they want us to tell us. And sometimes throughout the 2 weeks board and as a respondent, as a moderator, we have to go through everything. But for the respondents, I can imagine it's a lot to go through for them. So it's actually good to, in order to keep the conversation going, we sometimes actually go through and actually give them a summary of what's going on the board. So for example, oh, yesterday about this, did I do that? Sorry. Okay, so thanks. Yeah, so like yesterday, I've seen that many people mentioned this and this and that. Is it really true? And so with that, give them an overview of what's happening on the board, and then you actually stimulate a new discussion. So that's also another way to engage them and keep them till the very end of the fieldwork. And sometimes it's good also to use the function to have some individual follow-up. And as a moderator on the board, it's very difficult to actually respond to every single response. We always try to do that. But sometimes it's good to actually send them, give them a little personal touch and just send them an individual question or something that you would think that is more appropriate to discuss more in a private setting. So it's also always good to have an individual follow-up so that they know that, yes, my answer didn't get response all the time, but yes, the moderator is listening to me and they're interested in what I'm gonna say. So that's also keep them engaged and throughout the whole exercise. And of course, to make all this happen, we really need a very easy to use platforms, both for the moderators and the respondents. You have no idea how difficult it is even for the moderators or the project manager to make things happen. So a user-friendly platform is really a key here. So online qual enables multimedia responses, which we have discussed a lot today. And from this board, we actually asked them to take picture of their workspace and also to find collage of picture online. So this is something that is actually good because we don't restrain them from, you know, what kind of media they can use. So they can upload video and everything. But of course, it is challenging. Besides what Agnes said this morning, that, you know, it's a technical difficulty also how they upload the picture and how they make this happen. Also, in terms of analysis, when people look at the picture, I mean, the interpreter also have a different point of view. But it's important that, you know, we have native moderators that actually tie both things together to actually help us correctly interpret what the respondent is trying to tell us with the picture. So besides what they're saying in words, the pictures, the images, the videos actually give a very strong kind of supportive effect. Like looking at a picture sometimes or together with that, it really gives us and show us what they're thinking and what they're going through every day. Thank you. Oh, sorry, you have to.
In the evaluation at the end of the project, participants indicated that they really liked the change of pace of the exercises that we put in. Along the way in the 2-week journey, we actually found out that there were some common themes that kept on coming back. And what we did, we just quickly put together our, one of our max diff exercise. It's great to have a view on a global level because it kind of rules out some cultural and country variation. So you would have a global overview on a quant way, you support the qual data, but also you can zoom in on a country level to see, you know, what really matters within one particular country. So it basically serves both ends, and it worked really well in our analysis later on and in the presentation. What we also did, because it was a global concept development or a product development thing, this is an example from a different project that we use because of confidentiality. We provided some concept to them, so they gave their feedback, and we asked them to develop some concepts for us. You know, one country they prefer to give feedback. We heard it this morning, and other countries they really like to co-create with us. But it's just great to come up also with some heat maps that we presented as a result of the concept testing that we did on our board. So the clients all love some visual things, and the heat maps always do a great job. So it was great to integrate this in our project. And again, you can see it on a global scale and on a local and even individual scale, just to evaluate and quickly go back to the respondent in the individual question to say, hey, why do you rate this, that, the other? Engaged respondents is good data. What they really liked is it got them thinking. You know, it's a 2-week journey. You ask people individual questions. They see the responses of the entire group, so they learn from each other. And it got them thinking about health and hygiene, in this case, at the workplace. You know, what happens when I go to work, when I'm in public transport, touching, chairs in the underground or entering a bus or whatever. It's been fun. You know, you can use a variety of tools, and some people also got, you engage them to think outside of the box. And also it was nice, people see what engages others or what others find important, and they can learn from that sometimes. About the communication, communicate, this was a central thing. Communicate is basically collaborate. So here on the right-hand side, we had the daily country analysis provided to us by the moderators. So we actually had, along the way, built up our analysis. You know, we had 70 to 100 pages of transcripts at the end, but along the way, we already started with our daily analysis. In order to keep everyone aligned, we were talking about countries in the far east and the far west, or the other way around, depending on where you sit. We had 3 times a week. We had telecoms, one early in the morning to cover some countries, and one late in the afternoon to cover the others. Where we actually shared our experiences on the boards, and then we could apply those learnings basically straight away after we hung up the phone. So that's the moderators, the moderator debrief sessions. Earlier on, I mentioned that the clients could actually also see what was going on in their board. So the local affiliate could see their local board, and our main contact, our global contact, could actually see all the boards. Wonder how she did that with all the languages. But in fact, they also had their own board where they could share their learnings, and then our global contact filtered and fed back the learnings to us. So on the one hand, we shared our own country experiences, but then in our feedback sessions, we also used the client feedback in there. And it was great. They could see how the boards were evolving. We had our analysis, they had theirs. So along the way, they basically helped us in drafting the analysis and the reporting. I just have to click faster, I think. In the end, what we did to basically comprehend everything and all the data that was created, we created country personas to guide and stimulate a brainstorm session that we had at the end. So we had an immersion session, a 2-day immersion session with the client, with as much as local affiliates involved. And what we did, we just put all the country data together and created a persona that enabled the client to step into the shoes of a person from a particular country and see how they experienced health and hygiene at the workplace. So we used those personas or those country summaries in the development of their new concepts and new product ideas. So this is kind of like what it looks like. Does anyone have any questions?